Hello and welcome to the Worn and Wound podcast. My name is Zach Kazan. I am the editorial director at Worn and Wound. Thank you for tuning in once again to another all-new episode of the podcast. I'm joined today by two of my colleagues. I've got Cait Shoulders, media director at Worn and Wound, joining us from Nashville, the Nashville area, Nashville, Tennessee. How's it going, Cat?
Good. Back in Nashville.
Back in Nashville. I saw you last week. It was good to see you in person for the first time in a while. We were both in the office in New York. Glad to see you. Made it home safely. I'm also joined by Cait Bazemore, joining us from an undisclosed New York City location. Cait, how's it going?
Hi, I'm good.
Thank you for coming back to the podcast. We have a fun episode for you today. I think it'll be a fun episode. I've asked the two of you to select 3 watches from 2026 under $1,000. A truly affordable price point. I think that's a truly affordable price point at this stage in the watch landscape. There's been so much conversation about, rising prices and price sensitivity over the years, over the last year or two specifically. I thought it would be nice to just really lean into the affordable, especially ahead of Geneva Watch Days, which is not known for having the most, value-oriented novelties.
Yeah.
Although that's changing a little bit. There are, brands that are very much in our, kind of value-driven wheelhouse there. Still, some high-end stuff is always fun at Geneva Watch Days. We'll talk about the affordable things today. Before we do that, let's do a quick wrist check. Cait, let's start with you. What are you wearing today?
So I am wearing, and it's pretty much all I've been wearing lately, is my Omega Swatch Mission to Venus, which I won in the Buying Time auction.
Yes.
No way.
You wrote about that auction for us, and you mentioned in the article that you were going to bid, and now we have an update. You won.
Yes.
You won the watch. Okay, great.
I did.
Congratulations.
I played the game.
That's
got
cool.
in a bit at the end. And I just think if one is going to buy a hype watch, this is the way. I feel so good about this purchase, this money going to a good cause. And so I am, very, very excited to be sporting this piece. Literally have not taken it off since it arrived here. So
well, that's great. Congratulations. It's fun to win an auction. I still sometimes I will it's been a while, but every once in a while I'll find myself at in an eBay auction, bidding on something, not usually a watch, but other things. And it's really is fun to win in that last second when you realize
get some adrenaline going.
No,
and a little bit more.
Yeah, a little serotonin happening there. Congratulations, looks great. That's
cool.
that's a great. I'm on the record as not being a Moonswatch fan, but I do enjoy some of the truly kind of unusual color. That's just a color way that you would never see on a Speedmaster. I don't know about these Moonswatches that are gray and black. That just seems a little too close to it's a little on the nose, but that's a cool one. Congratulations on your auction victory.
Thank you.
Cat, what are you wearing?
I am wearing my Aura Aurea today, my Coriolis.
Congratulations. So you picked up this watch from our colleague Zach Weiss in Brooklyn last week.
I did.
And literally a day before you said he said, "I'm done buying watches." And I think my response was, "You'll leave here with a watch." And I just want that on record. I was right.
You were right.
Yeah.
I did leave New York with a watch. As did you, because you got one too.
I did, yeah. I bought that watch.
What color? What color did you buy?
I got the black one.
The black one. Okay.
I was I knew I was going to buy one. When Zach showed me the watch, I guess a year ago at this point, I was very into it. But I've been going back and forth on which one, which colorway to go for. But seeing the black one on a black strap at Chicago Windup is what did it for me. That's when it clicked. So I went with the black one. But they're all really nice. They're all very good.
So nice. Yeah, it is hard to sort of pick a colorway.
Yeah, and we're not just saying that because Zach's our coworker and friend. We really do like these watches. I'm glad he had them they were in stock.
Yeah.
It's nice to like,
get to pick them up and play with them.
Yeah, for sure.
It looks good on you, Kat. I like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Do you have it on a mill strap of?
I
of
do.
something?
Yeah, like the crown and buckle.
Yeah.
That we sell in the wind up shop. I also picked this up while I was there. Just sort of dressed it down a little bit, but it's such a fun watch, and I got it under like the macro lens the other day, and you can see all these little details that only someone like Zach would think of. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
No, it's definitely a watch that has been designed by someone who like has been paying attention to those little details for, like well over a decade. At this point professionally, it's just, very, very rewarding, watch to look at under magnification for sure. I'm wearing my Louis Erard Stefan Kudoke regulator collaboration. I just haven't picked it up in a while. Decided, I'll give this a shot today. This is I have this watch on a leather strap, the OEM leather strap it came with, and so like normally I stay away from like leather in the summer, and it's kind of hot today. I mean, I'm in the air conditioning, so but like whatever. It's but like I feel like this has a mother of pearl dial. I feel like this is one of those watches that is like a summer watch, even like without it, kind of like defies like summer watch categorization in some way. It's just like it feels summery to me, even though it's like ostensibly like a dress watch, I guess, that can be worn like any time. I don't know.
I think you can wear leather in the summer. I know like a lot of people don't like to because unless you're like super active, like if you're like running or something, maybe you don't want to. But I think leather is fine to wear. That's my opinion.
I know. I almost think a bracelet feels the most offensive in the summer. Like if I think about the strap material that bothers me most, if some perspiration happens, I feel like it's a bracelet for me.
Yeah, I like a bracelet in the summer, but it has to be loose and it has to be like lightweight. Like I don't like my
titanium or something. Maybe.
Yeah, like a titanium bracelet is good. Like I don't love my like I have a Tudor Black Bay on their like 5-link bracelet.
Yeah.
Like, that bracelet is like it's very comfortable and like I wear it loose, but it is kind of heavy. And it's not great not as great as I would maybe think it would be in the summer. I like rubber for me is like my go-to material in the summertime.
Yeah.
Like for me, that's the one I keep coming back to. But yeah, I mean, I mix it up. What can I say? Like I said, I'm in the air conditioning. Like what am I? I'm not, and I'm sitting at my
the real air
conditioning,
not the fake air conditioning of New York City.
Yeah, no, this is like it is cold in here. Like it's I think it's like I don't know. It's like 69 degrees or so. It's like it's chilly. So I'm
quite cold.
Yeah, I like it cold. I like it my electric bill is not not sustainable, but whatever. It's fine. It's all going to be okay. Only like 1 month left of this. It's August. Like summer is winding down. We're in the back.
Don't you curse us now.
It's just reality, The Earth rotates around the sun.
A different world.
Yeah, I got a few more months.
Yeah. Halloween can be a heat wave.
True.
Yeah. Well, the world's on fire, so it's like kind of can always have a heat wave. All right, let's move on to the main topic. 3 watches from 2026 under $1,000. We've been accused from time to time. I've been accused from time to time of I don't know, hectoring the community about pricing a little bit, like saying that we should like all just stop whining about rising prices. And I stand by everything I've said, but I will acknowledge, of course, that prices have gone up. I just think it's a little, I don't know, counterproductive to like complain about like high priced luxury watches. That's a little like the luxury is going to luxury. Things are expensive and everything's expensive, these days. And I think, from our positions at Warner Mount, like we're maybe like a little bit, we just have more access and we see more things. So like we know that there are still affordable watches out there. And I thought it would be a fun exercise to just kind of like go through our inboxes, our collections, our, the coverage that we've done, throughout the year and discover or rediscover some watches that are like truly value oriented under $1,000. So that's like that was sort of the conceit behind this podcast. So I asked you guys to do some research and find some watches under $1,000. What I want to know before we get started is, were you able to, like, what was this exercise like for you? Is $1,000 still sort of that like value center? Like, is that still like where we should think of, like an affordable watch to like sit at? Can you find like good watches at this price point? Still, Kat, I'll start with you. What do you think of like $1,000 being that like that threshold today in 2026?
Yeah. I will say it was harder than I thought. And I think had we recorded this podcast 5 years ago, it would have been much easier than it is today. But I still found some really cool watches. And yeah, I think like prices have just gone up. I mean, that's just kind of where we are. And there's also the brands that really used to own this space don't anymore either, which is a good and bad thing, I think, when it comes to the categories and the watches that we're going to talk about. But yeah, it was a challenge. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like I had to do some searching last night for some picks. Yeah. Yeah,
me too. It definitely, I mean, it's impossible to deny that like the cost of a truly affordable watch is higher now than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Those like impulse buy watches that were like, a couple $100 or even less, are really like few and far between. It's hard to think of a watch that costs $1,000 as a impulse buy in scare quotes. It's still like a significant sum of money.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to just like chuck $1,000 on
but
something.
Here's my thought behind that, because I thought that like some people could take this when we're saying like affordability and we're talking about watches that are up to like $1,000, which is a lot of money. But how many people buy an iPhone once a year? I know people that upgrade every single year. Like that's probably more than I don't even know how much an iPhone costs. I just close my eyes and hand over my credit card. But like, yeah, that's just kind of like where we are. Like $1,000 gets you like decent pair of like boots or shoes now too, or a bag, or like I don't know. I feel like that is like kind of the hallmarker before you jump into like more like mid-level luxury. But it also is like, I don't know, if something's under $1,000, I do kind of think of it as being a little bit more affordable, which is crazy to say, but like I think that's the truth.
Yeah. No,
we've gotten used to things being expensive.
We have.
Yeah.
We have. Yeah. Cait, how about you? What was this exercise like for you?
Yeah, I mean, already as we are getting into this discussion, like I'm realizing how nuanced it is, because I think the two important words here are like affordable luxury. It is like
it's kind of an oxymoron a little bit if you start thinking about it.
Exactly. But it was like reminding me, like my mom owns a bakery and people will come in and be like, what's like the lowest calorie? And it's like, you're in a bakery. Like, like you're here for some like superfluous meats and superfluous
That's
calories.
A good point.
Like,
yeah.
It's gonna, so I think that is like an interesting like thing to remember of like, we're talking about affordable luxury when we're saying that brushing the surface of $1,000 is considered affordable. So I think that's like really important context to keep in mind. The other thing that was important to me when I was making these selections is, to me, there are these brands like a Swatch. And don't get me wrong, like loving this model, have many other like swatches in my collection. And like there are brands like that have kind of long standing been like that couple $100 watch that you can get. But I was really trying to think about those two terms, like affordable luxury, and think about watches that, really kind of echo 4-figure, 5-figure pieces, but that are in this like 3-figure range. So I kind of imposed that additional challenge on myself instead of just going to kind of some very big like brands that are known for those like couple $100 watches. And like I definitely agree that it's a challenge to kind of find like that specific niche that's like not a fashion watch, not like a department store like watch or not, you know, like a fancy plastic watch, but like something that really kind of like embodies those luxury principles while maintaining a 3-figure price tag. So
yeah, I tried to do something similar. I tried to stay away from like the quote unquote usual suspects as much as possible. Like I looked at you know, like some like true micro brands and like, you know, like independent brands that are, some have like gotten some press and like lots of media coverage, and some like have really flown under the radar. And like part of my goal here is like to kind of like shine a light on some brands that have like, you know, like escaped a lot of you know, like attention from folks like us in the larger community, because I think there are a lot of things that are like kind of undiscovered, sort of like beneath this larger conversation of like rising prices. And I can like feel some of these brands saying like, hey, like we're here, we have a $300 watch that's great, you know, like no one's like talking about it. So like I think we can talk about you know, hopefully some of those watches today. Kat, what was your like approach in like in looking at watches? Did you kind of look for like classics, what, you know, watches that we've talked about in the past, or did you try to find some new blood, or somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between, but I definitely was cautious not to go for sort of like the fan favorites that always seem to sit in this category of where, you know, people talk about Hamilton a lot and Seiko, and I tried to like really steer away from those, not because they're not great values, because they still are, but just because we've talked about them so much in the past. And the, you know, when you gave us the prompt of like also releases this year, I feel like that also helped kind of narrow that window down, and there have been some really interesting releases that I think are pretty important or have really stood out to me. So yeah, that helped. But yeah, I didn't want to just kind of like pick the favorites that we've talked about, you know, a million times before.
Yeah. And I think like we can certainly, you know, we can go through our list, and then like I have like a few of those favorites like kind of like on my list and like an honorable mentions sort of like capacity. Like we can mention those. I think like those are always worth. You already mentioned Hamilton. Like that's one that's worth calling out. They do have a new release this year that I liked quite a bit, that fits this category, fits this conversation rather. Seiko's an interesting thing we can you know, we can talk about as well. I have Seiko's on my list. But yeah, I tried to like stick to some, you know, like I said, some like somewhat unheralded brands. And I have one here I'm looking forward to talking about, which is from a big brand, but like has really gone under the radar, that I liked a lot. So anyway, let's get into it. Who wants to go first? Kate, you want to kick us off with your first pick?
Sure. My first pick, which I will have a more in-depth story coming out very imminently about this watch, and I got to spend dedicated like a few weeks with it, is from a brand called Lapse. And this model, the Arch, is a pretty big departure for them. Like I would say this brand was kind of sitting more in like a very playful, colorful fashion type category, quartz movements, but they have come out with their first automatic piece. And it to me is a very beautiful, classic, just kind of round stainless steel, leather strap type watch. It is just on the cusp. I think, you know, it's priced in euro. I think with the current exchange rates, it's like $9.80. So it's really, really sitting right there. Has a Miyota movement inside, and you know, like this to me is like a really great classic. I got loads of compliments on it. I don't think anybody would like know that this is a sub $1,000 watch. I think somebody could easily assume that it was much more than that, because it has just this kind of very timeless styling to it. And I now can't. So I had just one of the kind of like standard dial versions. They do have a couple enamel dial versions, and I can't remember if those like are maybe priced a little higher and like maybe tip the scale over what our brief was here to chat about today. But this, I think, is just, yeah, it's just like a really beautifully executed, comfortable, accessible for like all wrist styles and sizes, and just very understated, timeless piece that would be a great investment, I think, for under $1,000.
Yeah, I've never heard of this brand. They're, really compelling. Like, some of these are giving like a little Grand Seiko vibes too. Like, very, very well done.
Yeah, I had this watch in hand for like, I don't know, 5 minutes or so before, like at one point when I was in the office before it went to you, Cait, and I was pretty impressed with like the casework on this. It's a really nicely designed case. It's pretty compact. It's like 37 millimeters, I think. And it's very nicely finished for a watch. It's like under $1,000. Interesting brand. This brand was not on my radar at all before getting the press release for this watch and kind of like getting pitched to me. And this is a fashion brand basically that has kind of like made a more enthusiast oriented watch this time around. That said, their fashion oriented watches are also kind of interesting. Like, I was looking through their website, and like they have these watches, like these rectangular watches with like interesting graphic dials, and there's like some like mosaic stone dials in their ladies line, which are like very like nice looking. I think I haven't seen those watches in person, so I can't speak to the quality. They're quite inexpensive, so I don't know what they actually like present like in person. But I was pretty impressed with sort of the ambition of this. Like, they really do seem to be trying something different. I like the date window, which is kind of this like trapezoid shape at 4 o'clock. I think is really cool.
Really nice.
Yeah. The hour markers are kind of like angled in this like interesting way. It kind of almost reminds me of like fanning out like a deck of playing cards. Like, that's sort of what the markers remind me of, as they sort of like circle the dial. Yeah, it's a cool watch. I'll be interested to see like how this brand kind of like evolves, because they've gotten some, in addition to your review, which will be out as we record this. It'll be out on this will come out on Wednesday. Your review will hit on Thursday. They've gotten a bunch of other press from other websites. So like, it seems like they're now kind of like in the mind of the enthusiasts. So we'll see like how that impacts the brand and what they do next. So I'm very curious. Another French brand as well. So that's another thing happening here, is the continued rise of French micros and independents,
which I've also written about, and there's a story about that you can also read on wornandwound.com. And I think you bring up something really interesting, like pointing out some of those details about like the case and the hands and the date window. I remember sticking with me as well, where like those to me can be the important things, like in a lower price point watch that can kind of elevate it. I think that's like the perfect example.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Good pick.
Yeah.
Kat, how about you? What's your first pick?
My first pick is a release that I'm pretty sure came out in January, but I don't know. You might have to dock me a point if it came out earlier. But there's
a grace period. Like, we're not gonna be puritanical about the $1,000. Like, you can go a little above, little below. It's fine. And if the watch came out in like the second week of December or something, like, I'm not gonna. Okay. It's okay.
Okay, great. This is the Astor and Banks Terra Scout. This is a watch that is kind of your classic field watch, but I think like with a twist. It has this great like sandwich dial, and I really like how they did the date. So the date is sort of like in a circular window inside the dial, and then you have basically like an aperture for each day of the month that will just kind of cycle through. which is cool. And I think seen like Nomos do this before, something very similar. But these watches are just like, they're really great looking. The specs are awesome. It's 38.5 millimeters. You have a Lejeune Perret movement inside. My favorite is the one that has the fully loomed white dial, the stainless one. So I'm a sucker for like a watch that has a lot of looms. So I thought that one is really, really cool. And it looks like, it doesn't look yellow in real life. Like when it's not like loomed up, it looks white, which I really like. But you just did a great job. I love there's like little orange accents on all of them. And these were just like such a winner. I honestly think they're sold out at the moment, but I think there's more coming because I think they had to change the name. But yeah, just like it's $995, and their website also, like, I just had a pop up for like 10% off your first like purchase. Sapphire crystal, screw down crown, over 600 feet water resistance. It's just like a great field watch. And where I would have like recommended like a Hamilton in the past, like I think like this is even cooler and it's way more unique
for sure,
and just feels like a level up from something like a Hamilton too, I think, in some ways. But I was really impressed, and I got to see these in person in Chicago. I was really impressed by them.
Yep, these are very nice. I'm particularly fond of the full loom dial treatment, which is that's like a trend that's been happening now for a couple of years, and some brands do it better than others. And this one's really cool. Like there's just like a really fun loom effect on all the watches, but particularly like the full loom dial is very, very cool. This is one of those brands I think that like is filling that void that is left by like, brands like Seiko and Hamilton kind of like moving a little bit up market. And it's impressive that Astor & Banks is still able to to make a watch at this price point. They've been at this for a while. Like this is like one of the kind of like OG micro brands. Like they've been around for like 12 or 13 years, I think. And like they're still kind of like creating watches that are like genuinely like pretty affordable
and unique. Like I don't feel like this is like an homage to anything else. It doesn't really look like anything else. Like and I think Astor & Banks for a long time I felt had a very strong DNA in how their watches sort of looked, and it's cool to see Andrew like deviate and try like really something new too. So it's an exciting release.
Yep, there's real ambition here. They also their sister brand Solabs is another very affordable kind of like design oriented brand, and cool stuff coming out of Astor & Banks for sure. All right, my first pick, I'm gonna go with the Prevail Onward Future Field Watch.
Good one.
This watch it's a quartz watch. It's $275.
Wow.
I own this watch. Full disclosure, it was gifted to me by the brand at Chicago Windup. I asked to buy one, and they said, "No, just please take one. No strings attached." But I genuinely like really like it, and I wanted to shout it out. It's like it's a really unique take on like the military genre of watches. It does not look like a military watch to me. Like I think that's a very kind of like tired genre of watch. There's a lot of sort of like cosplay, happening, and like a lot of these watches that are sort of like derived from like a military, aesthetic, and that's not what this watch is at all. Company is veteran owned, and proceeds from each purchase go towards a good cause. I off the top of my head, I can't remember the exact charity that they donate to, but I'll put it in the show notes for sure. And like one of the things I like about this watch is like they're kind of like rethinking like what a military watch like is, which I think is like a valuable thing to do in 2026 when there are a lot of wars happening, frankly, and you might not want to look at your wrist and think about a like international conflict every time. And so this is a little bit different spin on that. I think it's a little bit more thoughtful. It's also just like a super comfortable wearable watch. It kind of has this like sort of like futuristic sort of like sci-fi kind of like case shape, and the case lines are like really unique. Another watch that has like a really cool lume treatment. Cheating a little bit with the 2026 of this because it was introduced over a year ago, but the colorway specifically that I'm like referencing here is the new kind of like tan colorway that did come out this year. It's not even on their website yet. That's how new it is. So you'll give me some grace there. But
you've been
but yeah,
graced.
thank you. But yeah, this watch is $275, and it like is absolutely
that's a great value.
Yeah, like,
that's
it's
incredible to come under $300. Like that's kind of insane.
And it's like it's very like it's not a cheap feeling watch like at all. It has heft to it, and it even though it's quartz, and it has like a really nicely machined case. It's very, very good. I'm very, very impressed with this watch. So yeah, the Prevail Onward Future Field Watch is my first. Yeah. Cait, back to you. What's your second pick?
Okay, so I must disclose, have not seen this watch in person, and in fact came to discover it in a little bit of a strange way. I love following illustrators on Instagram, and there is a Ukrainian illustrator that I follow who I will absolutely completely butcher the pronunciation of her last name, but her first name is Nina. Her last name is like Dizvolska, something of that nature. And I saw her promote that she did a collaboration with a brand called Nuncier. Again, could also be mispronouncing that watch name brand. But of course, I had to go check it out and figure out what was happening here and who is this brand that I've never heard of. They are an Arabian brand. It's totally random. Like, I was like, I don't think I've known of an Arabian watch brand before. Very like colorful, sporty, like rubber. The collaboration she did, like she has a very unique, playful, also colorful like style of illustration, little like creature, nondescript creatures. So she did a dial for them on a piece that they've kind of brought out the orange accents. I think that was like the color strap and stuff that they paired it with. Again, Miyota Movements price, I think, is around like $420 for these watches. And that feels like roughly the price point of most of the pieces on their site. And, you know, there are some that like have more of like, you know, Middle Eastern type numerals on them and stuff. But yeah, so haven't seen one of these in person. So can't fully speak to the quality. Still very curious to like perhaps one day see one of these in person and learn more. But I love color. I love this illustrator. And I thought it was very cool to find a new watch brand that I'd never heard of by way of a collaborator. So that is my second pick.
These are fun.
Yeah. Kat, have you heard of this brand? I have not. This is brand new to me. So Cait, thank you for introducing Nuncier to the Worn and Wound podcast. This was a blind spot for me. Yeah, this is really cool. $422. It's so I like watches that have like exist purely for like the art of it. Like, and this is like taking that to like a literal level, like with a, you know, collaboration with an illustrator. So, but yeah, that's very cool. Very fun. I'm getting, you know, it's probably like a little reductive to say like Swatch vibes or Mr. Jones vibes or something like that. But like, that is kind of like, you know, what this is. And I think that's fun. Like, everyone should have like a watch like this, I think, at some point in their collection. That's just like
totally
pure fun. Or you can have a bunch. I have like, you can have several of these. Nothing wrong with that. Very cool. I
like the artist too. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna find her on Instagram and follow her.
So glad you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Excellent pick. Kat, what's your second pick?
All right, pick number 2 is a watch that definitely came out this year, and this is the Brew Metric Light. So the 30 millimeters that he released, specifically the Tahitian Pearl dial, and comes in at a price point of $375, which I think is like super great value. These do have an automatic movement inside. I really like the smaller. I didn't think that you needed a smaller metric until I saw these, and I was like, it actually makes total sense. And I think very unisex too, for both. Like, obviously smaller watches have been a huge hit with, you know, men in general this year, I think over the last 2 years really, but these just like look so good. And I think like added I don't know, another level to like the metric. They look more luxury to me, I think, honestly, in the smaller case size now. But there's so many different options. There's also like a really great Tiger Eye dial too that's sold out, unfortunately, at the moment. But yeah, I think Brew is one of those brands that anytime I have someone that comes to me and asks me for like an affordable watch, I always direct them to Brew's website, because it never fails that they can find something that they like from John's offerings. And the new metric lights, I think I'm such a huge fan of. And having owned several Brews now, I can say that like I've never had a quality issue with them. Like they're so nice in person. And I think, again, coming at like less than $500, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. I know we say that all the time, but truly you are with this brand. And yeah, I love these in general, and they're fun. Yeah.
Yeah, these are cool. Cait, you're a fan of these.
I am an owner. I am an owner of, of a few Brews, but including a metric light, the original mother of pearl. I really like that, like Tahitian mother of pearl that's kind of more colorful and stuff that came out this year. But that was, for a different outlet that I contribute to that does a most worn watch of the year, that was my watch last year. And it genuinely was my most worn watch of the year. It's so easy, and it looks great with everything. And like the cliche, it can be like dressed up or down. I think especially because of some of the dial like treatments that he's chosen kind of allow it to be like that sport watch if you want it to be, but also like, look great with something a little more elevated too. So yes, big fan.
Yeah, these are cool. I think it's like it's amazing like what Brew has, like how Brew has grown and like what they've accomplished as they've grown, and like remaining in that like very affordable realm. I think is like it seems like John made a commitment like to do that, and like to remain, like to keep his watches like very accessible, and it's very cool to see like what he's accomplished. I'm interested, Kat, to like dig in a little bit into like what you said about like they feel a little bit like higher end or more luxurious in the smaller size, because I agree, and I can't really put my finger on why. Like,
I was thinking about that. Like, I think I would say like more refined in a way than the bigger ones. I don't know why. The bigger ones are also quartz, and like I kind of like the smaller but chunkier version of the lights. Like there's something about that I don't know, it feels like a higher end watch on your wrist, I think, than like the thinner profile of the bigger one. But yeah, I they're super nice. And I was just looking, like the most expensive watch he has is like the manual wind copper, which I actually also think came out this year. That one's $875, and that's like the most expensive watch. Everything is honestly well under $500. But I think there's an incredible value. And maybe it's because he made these with like, I don't know, the stone dials too, and the other metrics feel a little bit more like playful and fun, and these feel a little bit more like dressy in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, to me, they feel like they're really drawing on like, it's like the larger watches feel like they're drawing on like 1970s like sports watches, like Zenith Defies and like racing chronographs and things like that. These smaller ones feel like they're drawing on like Piaget cocktail watches and things like that. Like it's interesting. Like they're the same shape and they have the same bracelet, but like the size.
Also, maybe
and I think like the dial treatments too, like
we
really
lose the chronograph
like something
too. So like, there's something to that.
Yeah,
they look a little cleaner.
Yeah, it'd be fun to have John on the podcast maybe and like talk about like how that sort of like develops, like those influences, and if he sees those too. But yeah, really cool pick. Is it back to me? I think I've lost track.
Yeah, it's back to you.
Okay. All right. My next pick, I'm going to go with a watch I reviewed for the website earlier this year, the Trafford Crossroads S. It comes in two sizes. There's a 36 and a 40. They're not actually 36 and 40 millimeters, but they're square cases that are meant to kind of like simulate what a 36 millimeter circular watch feels like, and a 40 millimeter. I prefer the 36. I just think in that square case shape, it makes a little bit more sense in the smaller size. But the 40 is nice too. They're both $899. So on the higher end of things, and a lot of people have kind of like said, I've heard comments, I've seen, sort of like pricing complaints of people saying like this watch would have been $500 if it came out like 5 or 6 years ago or something like that. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like it's using a Swiss movement in these watches. It's a completely original design. I think that like $900 is a pretty fair price to pay for something with this much kind of like design originality and a Swiss origin movement. That's just sort of like what these things cost now. But regardless of price, like this is just like a really impressive, well-conceived watch. And it's very original. It's from a newer micro brand that's kind of like rising, I think, and becoming more popular and more in demand. These watches sell out. Like Trafford watches are like, frustratingly hard to come by. It's a good problem.
I discovered this brand at Wind Up Chicago, and I loved these watches. And would one have been there for me to purchase, I would have been purchasing one. But they were sold out of almost everything.
Yeah, no, that's something he's been they've been dealing with for like the last few rounds of releases at least. Like he's got a very dedicated, like base of customers that are after these things. Really creative use of color. Lots of brands are like doing interesting things with color, and he's certainly not the only one. But like, it's like they're just like they're really fun, unique watches with their own sort of like personality. This is another small brand, micro brand, indie brand that's like carving out a like a niche for themselves and is developing like a design identity. And I think when it's a really nice thing when a brand can do that and like have a watch that is kind of like recognizable as theirs from across the room for like under $1,000. I think that's good. Like usually that's something you pay a premium for. Definitely. And it's nice, that these watches are like, I guess not accessible in the sense that like you can like buy them on the website because again they sell out, but like in terms of pricing they're like relatively affordable. So yeah, Trafford Crossroads S36.
Awesome. Great pick.
All right, Cait, final pick. What have you got?
Guys, okay. So my final pick, Kat and I should have, cross-referenced because because my final pick was also a model from Brew. I was gonna say the manual wind in copper, and the reason that this like just had to be a pick for me was, again, as many of you may have read my story about working at Brew's pop-up in New York City last summer. And that was the first time that he had launched these manual wind watches. And by the time the pop-up was open, like one colorway had already sold out.
Wow.
And every person that came in that store was looking for this manual wind watch. Like, it was the most like in demand thing that again, he's done a lot of great stuff. I'm an owner of a few of his watches, but like, this watch really, really spoke to people. And even the colorway that was sold out, like, people just wanted to come in and try it on and touch it and feel it. And it was like something I wanted to add in when we were chatting before that I think was interesting as you guys were kind of getting to the nuances of like, why does the smaller size maybe feel like a little more elevated? And I think the chronograph is an interesting observation, which is not true in the manual wound version, even though it's the larger size. But this model with the movement, it's also like a little bit slimmer. And like, even though it is still that metric case shape, like, the lines are just a little bit more refined. And I kind of think that these also, like, compared to their quartz ones of a similar proportion, like, do feel a little more refined and elevated as well. So this one was honestly me like trying to speak for the people, this is what I saw many enthusiasts interested in these pieces. I think, it was amazing for him to release like a new dial in this piece. And again, obviously maybe a little biased, have spent a lot of time with this brand, but I do think like in the price category that he's offering something very special and consistent. If we're having the conversation of, like, price increases over time and, or even like quality or stylistic things over time, I think that this brand is like also very consistent and kind of like dedicated to this category. Which again, like, to each their own, each brand, I support you if you're, want to branch up and level up and into the next category or whatever, but it's nice to kind of have those that you can count on. Like, holding their ground. So sorry for doubling down on that one and not I should have
No, I think it's great.
Like a fourth option just in case.
I think it's totally fine. I think what's special about the manual wine too is that, I imagine John probably has a certain customer base that have always liked his watches and have been a fan, but like maybe quartz is sort of like the barrier to entry and they didn't really want to buy a quartz watch because, let's face it, some of us are snobs. So I think that he probably opened, his community up a little bit by giving sort of people, or at least like the watch community, kind of what they wanted. And as far as I know, these have been really successful too. So, they're really cool. And something I haven't really messed with is like, his manual wind watches. I'll have to get hands on with them a little bit more.
Yeah, these are very nice. We do like to avoid, duplicating efforts on these podcasts, but it's reflective of the strength of Brew, I think, in this segment. Like, and it's fitting that Brew is represented multiple times here, so no worries about that at all. I think it's completely, it just like it should underline the point that like they're making like a really compelling, design oriented, high quality watch that is like well under $1,000, and like they're filling a void, for sure, because they're it's getting harder to find watches that meet that criteria. So yeah, great pick. Fitting to have Brew represented multiple times here. Kat, what's your final pick?
My final pick is not from a micro brand. This is a sort of a big box brand from Citizen, and these are the ProMaster Land GMT watches that came out earlier this year. So I own the non-GMT version of this watch. And I think like if you're going to spend, let's say $525, which is what these cost, like you have a watch that truly you're going to have forever. Like the Eco Drive movement is so good. And honestly, so nice to have, because there's so many days that I open up my safe to grab a watch and I don't want to set a watch. So I just grab this one because it's easy. But the specs on this thing are kind of crazy. You get a GMT, you get the Eco Drive movement, you get 200 meters of water resistant screw down crown. These are stainless steel. They have some that are also titanium. There's just so much that you get in this little tiny watch for, around $500. And I think if you're like me, and specifically, and you like sort of sportier watches in general, like this isn't one that you should overlook. There's a really cool red dial. There's a blue. There's like a black and green version too. But yeah, these just like, they really impress me. And the lume is really, really good. And so all of the numerals are super bright. But yeah, I think this is like such a compelling watch. And I think Citizen in a lot of ways has taken up the space that Seiko used to hold under the sort of the $1,000 category. We've talked about this on the podcast in the past, but I think really Citizen like owns sort of the affordable category now more than Seiko, I would say. But yeah, this is 100%. A favorite of mine.
Yeah, those are really good. I mean, we've said it before on the podcast, like they are kind of like eating Seiko's lunch at this like price point. The Seiko used to like own not just this price point, but like that segment of like sporty enthusiast oriented
but
watches.
Like kind of really like, cool. Yeah, they're like really interesting and different, and yeah, these have like a really cool texture to them. They're just not. It's not your everyday sort of like field GMT watch. Like they feel like they're really different, and I feel like Seiko used to do fun stuff like this and doesn't anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no. I was wondering if Citizen would make an appearance. I had a Citizen in my like honorable mentions, so like we weren't gonna like end this podcast without mentioning.
I was gonna say that would have been an honorable mention for me also. Like their like women's piece, I think it's called like FIO or something.
Yeah,
that it's like a rectangular. Like people mistake that on me for like a JLC or like a Cartier and stuff like all the time, and it's also like
a lot of cool stuff.
Go Drive like dress watch that's amazing. So like that would have been my big box brand honorable mention too. Kat, you and I were too much on the same wavelength.
Excellent final pick. My final pick is also from a larger brand and also part of the Citizen group. And this is a watch that I saw at Wind Up Dallas that I haven't been able to like get out of my head. This is the Bulova Stetson Bison watch. Have you guys seen this?
Yeah.
This
Interesting.
Watch is sick.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah, I like it. Like I remember, like I saw this watch on like the last day of Dallas Wind Up, and I like. It's not that I was like avoiding like the Bulova tail, but like it's just one of those brands like you kind of just think you've seen everything, and so like I didn't like make it a point to go over and just like pour over everything, but I did on the last day, and I picked up this Bulova Stetson watch, and there are a few Bulova Stetson like collaborations that they came out with. I'm pretty sure these are 2026 releases. Mm-hmm. They were new to me at 2026, so they're going on my list.
Yeah.
But this is a watch with an engraved bison on the dial. It's pretty simple. Like it's like like relief engraved bison. It's like, and it's just like really cool looking, and it's like it seemed to be like relatively like high quality. Like this is a well under $1,000. It's $850 retail. I'm looking at it on a website right now. It's on sale for $680. So yeah, it's just cool. We'll put links to it in the show notes and images of it. It's just like it's a lot of fun. It's an iconic, Bulova is obviously an iconic American brand. So is Stetson. I'm not a hat guy, but like, I kind of like the idea of like having something that says Stetson on it and represents like the West. And I don't know, it's very evocative. I enjoy this. I enjoy this watch quite a bit. I was genuinely like very impressed by it, like the quality of the engraving when I saw it at Wind Up. I took a couple photos of it when I was there, and I can put those in the show notes as well. But yeah, Bulova Stetson Bison Automatic is my final
pick. That's awesome.
Pick. Yeah, left field. I don't know. Kate, have you ever had a Bison watch? Would you ever consider a Bison watch?
It's interesting. So
it's okay if it's just a flat no. That's fine.
No. So when I was recently like on vacation in Maine, I like stumbled on like a Pendleton store, and I was like, I want this to be my whole personality. I would love to just like you know, again, like be a rich person with like multiple homes or something where you could like have your home, you know, out west or something. And like, that's your whole personality, like when you go there. So like, I mean, even when you said you're not a hat person, I was like, I think you might need to become one. Like, were you to get this watch? Like, I'm like, I want you to fully commit like to the bid, you know, if you're gonna go there. So I understand the fantasy like of let's make this my whole personality now.
Yeah. That is, I mean, you've nailed it right there. It really is kind of like leaning into like you become a different person a little bit when you know, put on the bison watch or wear the Stetson or, you know, it's like a leather jacket, you know, like maybe you don't even know how to ride a motorcycle, but like you put that, you know, that jacket on and you feel like James Dean for like for a minute. And it's like, it's a real thing. It's the power of stuff to transform you. You know?
I was just thinking of like sunglasses and Persol and like the Steve McQueens, and you put those on, you're like, you instantly feel cooler when you're wearing them.
Yeah. And then you take them off and you go back to your normal boring life.
Exactly.
Oh well.
Are we gonna get to call out some of our honorable mentions?
Sure. We got time. What have you got that didn't quite make the
So I
cut?
have, and both of these are just like, they're just over $1,000, but they were really close. One of them is the Serica reference 7505, which is like the smaller, like 37 millimeter they came out with this year. $1,200, like just over $1,000, but I think is like a really strong contender if you have like $1,000 budget. And then this other one is same, like $1,200, but I'm sure you can get a discount on it. And it's the Venezianico. I'm gonna butcher the dive watch name. It's like Nerede.
I think it's Nerede. Yeah.
Yeah. The stone dials, they're all like $1,200, $1,300, but they have like an aventurine dial. They have like an amethyst, like purple dial. My mom actually owns that one, but I just like I have seen these so many times, and I'm always impressed with the quality of Venezianico, and they're just really cool. And I think like it's high on my list to recommend if you're looking for like $1,000 watch, especially a dive watch in particular.
Cait, anything that you were thinking of that like didn't quite make the list, or was like a little over 1,000, or just anything else come to mind?
I shut myself down. Like I really did. I was really trying to stay committed to the three figures.
Yeah, you're like, I got three. Assignment complete. We're good. Yeah. No, I hear you. I just have a few. So we already kind of talked about Hamilton a little bit. Hamilton came out with their like an America 250 watch earlier this year, which is like, I don't know, the America 250 stuff is a little bit corny in my opinion, but like this is like a nice looking watch, and it's you know, they're always going to make these, you know, khaki fields. They're rising a little bit in price, but they're still under $1,000. This one's $725. I hope they remain under $1,000 for at least a few more years. We'll see. You know, get them while you can, folks, for under $1,000. Those are just really solid watches. Seiko Rolling Blazers was just released. That's a $500.
I love to hate those, you know, man. I mean, like, or like, I hate that I love them. Actually, that's maybe the more like, it's like I want to. Anytime I see something like so hyped and it's like people are freaking out, I'm like, but they are really good.
Yeah, no, they're good. Like they hit on something. And again, this is like another one of those sort of like, you know, cosplay watches a little bit. Like it's like it kind of becomes your personality. Like, am I like the preppy rowing blazers person? Like, not really, but like you can be when you you know, when you put this watch on. You know, just a note, Seiko 5 Sports, you know, $500. It feels like that's an affordable watch. Check the prices. Check what these watches were like 3 or 4 years ago. Like they've like doubled in price essentially. Like that's, you know, that's just kind of like the state of things, you know, right now. And you know, I still think that, you know, just because it's like it's gone up in price doesn't mean it's like an unfair price. So we have to like think about these things from like a, you know, let's detach a little bit from like the you know, the financial, you know, aspect. Like, is this watch okay at $500? Like, I still think it is. Like, we haven't gotten to that point where it's like an absurd ask. So yeah, Seiko Rowing Blazers worth calling out. That's about it for me. Everything else we've touched on. So I don't know, guys. You think that like we've shown that there's like good stuff out there for under $1,000? I think we have. I think we've like got a broad
really
spectrum.
Feel like we covered a lot of the categories too with all of our picks. I'm glad that most of ours are like pretty different from each other.
Yeah.
And I learned like Cait, I learned about 2 watch brands I didn't know existed, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Only one watch with a bison on it.
So,
yeah. That's true.
All right, guys, thank you for participating in this exercise with me. I think we've I do think we've shown that there's like, you know, watches out there that are like accessible, fun, genuinely affordable, under $1,000. If you disagree, let us know in the comments. Like, you can feel free to yell at us and tell us we're way off base. That's fine. I asked you guys to prepare some cultural recommendations as we try to do on most of our podcast episodes. Kat, what have you got for a cultural rec this week?
So I was thinking about this the entire time because I was between a couple different picks, but I'm gonna go with a movie that I just watched 2 nights ago called The Drama. And I know you've seen this, Kazan.
Great
this has Robert Pattinson and Zendaya in it, and whoa, what a wild ride that movie was. I didn't know whether to like laugh or to be shocked. My jaw was like pretty much on the floor most of this movie. I don't even know what category. It feels like a comedy, but also feels like a drama. Thriller in some aspects, but it was truly like a wild experience to watch this film. Cait, I don't know, have you seen this movie yet?
No, have not.
Yeah, have you heard much about it?
I mean, I can like vaguely picture like, you know, the front of the movie poster.
They're both, you know, this loving couple. They're engaged, and we see them like days in sort of preparation of their wedding day. And I don't want to spoil anything, but over sort of dinner with friends, they start sharing some things that they've done in their past, and some things get uncovered that, you know, are pretty shocking. And
this is like. So I saw this movie in the theater, and like I had like heard that there's like a reveal, there's like a twist like early in the movie, and it truly is one of those things where like you do not want to know like what's coming. So we should like kind of stop talking about.
I won't say anymore. I won't say anymore.
It is it's one of my favorite movies of the year. It's really I think it is funny. Like it's genuinely like very funny, and also like a little bit unsettling, but it's like it's a really good dark comedy. I was pretty big fan of it. The Drama, good pick. It's streaming now, so like it's a lot. I think a lot of people are going to be watching it and maybe talking about that twist. So like this is your signal to, you know, get in there and check it out before it gets spoiled, because it's pretty effective when you don't know what's coming. Cait, what have you got?
So I also came with a film recommendation, or just film thoughts that are maybe kind of weird. So I was like recently rewatching one of my favorite childhood films, My Girl. And I was like, the child acting in this is just like so amazing. So again, gonna sound kind of weird, but I like then was kind of going on a dive of trying to find like exceptional movies where like the children were kind of the main characters.
Yeah.
Which led me this past weekend to watch The Florida Project for the first time. And yeah, I mean, kind of depressing movie, like not super uplifting, but like centers around a like young girl. I don't know, she's maybe like, you know, 8 years old or something like that, and like her 2 best friends, and just so much of the like non-verbal like part, you know, it's like there would be like whole like scenes of them just like playing that felt like very authentic and stuff. So I've just been in touch with with my child self and like marveling at the portrayals of like young actors, and who also too, like knowing, you know, the two main actors in My Girl and like what they've gone on to do. Like, I think it's interesting to also look at, like, I know the Florida Project was from like a few years ago, but to think like, okay, like could that young girl like turn out to be someone one day? So yeah, those are my film thoughts.
Those kid movies from like the 80s and the 90s, like they're so good. Like I can watch them today and I don't feel like they're outdated. The kids don't annoy me the way like kids do in movies now. And yeah, there were some pretty good actors, you know, back in the day, which they probably tortured these kids probably, but they're really good on
Macaulay
screen.
Culkin getting stung by those bees over and over again. My God, that must have been like very, very painful.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so spoiler alert for a 30-year-old movie.
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah. My Girl is like, that is a traumatizing movie when you see that as a kid. It is, man, like a wonderful movie.
I wanted to be Veda Sultanfuss. Like she was like my like idol. Like I legitimately, like I forced my mom to try to go out and like buy clothes that looked like hers. And like she was like, she was a writer, you know, she was like writing about her feelings and stuff. That was kind of more, I think, played out in like the second film. But yeah, no, I idolized her completely, even though it was a very depressing and traumatic film. So
it's one of those like kind of like iconic like coming of age movies. You know, from my childhood, like certainly. Really good pick. And good thoughts. Yeah, the child actor thing is like so tough. Like it's like the Florida Project is also like a very good movie, directed by Sean Baker, who made Anora later and won a bunch of Oscars for it. I think the Florida Project's actually like a better movie than Anora. It's so tough to like get a great performance out of a kid, you know, and when they nail it, it's like it's pretty special. So I do not have a movie recommendation this week. I know I'm going against that. I just want to shout out Mark Cho does an ideal watch size survey. Not quite every year, but he's done it at least like 2 or 3 times in the past, and it's in progress now. It ends on I believe Saturday night as we record this. So he's still got like 3-4 days to complete that. So we'll leave a link for it in the show notes. Mark Cho, a friend of ours, a proprietor of the Armory, notable watch collector of course, and watch enthusiast, has his own watch brand now. But he's done this survey in the past where he asks people to kind of like talk about their ideal watch size based on their own wrist size, and it always offers a lot of like really interesting insights into like trends in watch sizing and our own perceptions of what is large and what is small and what is normal. So worth doing. Obviously, good to have like a larger sample size for something like this, and that really, it benefits the community, I think, to have results from this survey out there. It always generates a lot of conversation, and brands can access it and use it, and kind of get a sense of what people are looking for in a watch size. So anyway, we'll leave a link to that in the show notes. Cait, thank you again for coming on the pod. Always appreciate it. Really good discussion as always. And thank you to everyone at home for listening and for tuning in to another episode of the Warner Wound podcast. We will be back next week with another episode. Until then, take care.